November 18th, 2012, Cotonou, Benin, West Africa. Gregory and I were driving home on the expressway when suddenly he sees, 50 meters away on his far right, a person I hadn't seen, a person lying on the sidewalk just in front of the store. So we turned back and headed for that spot, and what we came upon is a sight that's been haunting me since.
Ano siya? Papiam mo.
Catholic, originally from Benin, Gregoire left school early and in search of adventure settled in Bouaké, Côte d'Ivoire in 1971. Within 5 years he became prosperous, repairing tires and running taxis. However, in 1980 he went through such financial problems he got close to committing suicide. With counseling from a priest, he emerged from this depression craving for the scriptures. What stone can I bring to building the church? Was the question he constantly entertained in his heart. Back from his pilgrimage to Jerusalem, Gregoire set up a prayer group who visited and fed the sick, the lepers, and the prisoners. One day, stumbling upon one of those mentally ill people are so afraid of, walking about naked in the city and picking garbage cans, it suddenly dawned on him that that man and all of them deserve to be treated with utter dignity, as they are the neighbor Jesus referred to, Gregoire realized. Gregoire started visiting the homeless every night, his wife preparing water and food for them. But deciding this was still not enough, he set up a refuge in the back of the Bouaké hospital, where he started treating them with the help of psychiatrists. The word spread, his work got known, and he repeatedly got called for help in the surrounding villages. One of the worst days of my whole life, says Gregoire, was when one day I came to a village where a father forbid me to help his own son, whom he said was rotting away anyway. Outraged, I threatened to call the police, and I was let in. I'll never forget what I saw, never. Tied to the floor with barbed wires plowing through his flesh, I did eventually succeed in cutting away at them and brought him to the refuge, where at least he died in dignity. From then on, week after week, since the last 20 years, Gregoire discovered with sheer horror how families, helpless, dealt with their mentally ill in the villages. Chained or blocked in wooden beams, they were kept for 5, 10, 30 years, oftentimes in the bush, in the sun, and in the rain. Faithful to the founder's wish to get ever closer to all those who are fragile, St. Camille Association built one residential center after another to meet the growing needs, such that 20 years later there are now 4 such inpatient centers in Côte d'Ivoire and a 4th one nearing completion in Benin. There are 200 inpatients at any one moment in each of those centers, all of them staffed mainly by patients that have been successfully stabilized, of which some have become nursing aides, while others, having had their nursing curriculum paid by Saint-Camille, became certified nurses. One such remarkable patient got to be director of one of Saint-Camille's residential centers for 3 years, as well as being its head nurse. In order to best ensure long-term compliance, Grégoire developed relay centers, that is, mental health dispensaries run by nun-nurses from the various religious communities that are present in most of rural Benin. Supervised by psychiatrists from Europe and Canada, a mobile nursing team provides the medication and the expertise for assessing more difficult cases, some of whom may need to be hospitalized. As the mentally ill are far from welcomed in the public system, Saint-Camille has built its own general hospitals for its own patients, which also serves the local population. As Saint-Camille gets no subsidies whatsoever, a minimal financial contribution is welcomed, except for those who cannot afford, for whom care is free. Patients are trained into social skills and taught a trade, so as to help them acquire some economic self-sufficiency. Over the last 20 years, around 60,000 patients have been brought back to their families, a lot of them earning a living and founding their own family. Educating families about mental illness is done at Saint-Camille since the 1990s. They are taught there is absolutely no witchery involved in mental illness, nor are those patients contagious. They're also told to support their ill parent, encouraging them to comply to their often lifelong medication. A home support team, as well as self-help groups of parents, are planned to take effect as soon as 2015. Now here we see Amadou, a young man chained for 7 years before he got freed by Grégoire many years ago. He works as an assistant now for the radiology department at Bouaké Saint-Camille General Hospital. And now this is Janvier, chained like no animal would ever be. This man has now become the pride of his village, as he provides palm oil through operating a machine Saint-Camille bought for him. He now has a wife and children.
Non seulement on m'a enchaîné, on ne me donnait pas à manger, je ne buvais pas. J'ai un devoir. Étant malade et qu'on m'a aidé à me retrouver, moi aussi me dois de les aider, c'est-à-dire aider les malades à se retrouver.
All this being said, a lot of work lies ahead, and Grégoire knows it very well. As people come to know about Saint-Camille, some inhuman situations get more and more brought to Saint-Camille's attention. This is the case of prayer camps in Togo. Grégoire has been fighting for years now the maltreatment patients in those sects are victim of. Families bring their mentally ill in hundreds of privately owned prayer camps, believing the miracle cure so-called prophets or Pentecostal or evangelical religious leaders promise in return for a generous financial contribution. In fact, patients are forced to urinate, bathe, sleep, and defecate in the spot where they are chained, as Mrs. Shanta Bariga has rightly denounced as part of the 2012 Human Rights Watch report on prayer camps in Ghana. La vie est finie, claimed this patient. Just imagine yourself chained until the prophet says you're well enough to be freed. Wouldn't you also think life is over with? For Mariam, though, whom Grégoire saved from death on that famous sidewalk in Cotonou, life is just beginning again. Mother of 6, now working at one of Saint-Camille's residential center as a cook. Given back her dignity, we brought her back to her own family. Again, the same mixed feelings. Her brother is crying from joy and also from shame he did not try harder to get her back. But, above all, it is the fear he would be caught having to care for her. Would she relapse? Fear having a witch in their midst again. Relentless, Grégoire keeps on answering cries for help, offering solutions and opening centers, giving conferences in Africa, in Europe, in America, to priests, students, health professionals, and administrators of all sorts, to help curb stigma. Nous devons changer notre regard. Grégoire keeps saying everywhere. We must change the way we look at people who are fragile, because all this is about humanity.